Hey Troy, do you think comic books these days are a little bit pricey?
Well, not especially, no. I mean, you know, their cover prices are definitely more than they used to be, but, you know, everything is more than it used to be.
Can you just go ahead and read the cover price on that for me?
Oh, Amazing Spider-Man 25, the Osborn identity begins here. And, yeah, we got a $9.99 cover price on this thing, on this incidentally triple-sized book. So, whereas...
$10.
Yes.
You can get an entire image trade for $10.
Volume 1 you can get for $10.
Yeah.
And the successive volumes are $14 and $15 and $16.99. So let's be fair. It's
Okay.
not like you can get the entire series at $10 a trade.
That's
Okay,
fair.
so I got one. How many comics alone can $10 get you for just the one?
Well, your average Marvel is going to be what, $3.99?
Yeah, $3.99
So
to $4.99.
yeah, okay. $4.99, and that's usually your annuals. So again, those you get additional pages in that, so you get a thicker book for your $4.99. For something like that quadruple-sized Deadpool, remember that?
Yes.
That was also $9.99. So you're paying more, yes, but you're also getting a lot more pages. Bear in mind, when comics were first published, you know, and let's go back to the golden age here. Let's go back to when comics were a dime. Okay. That's at the end of the Great Depression. So a dime doesn't sound like a lot now. I mean, you know, it's pocket change. I might actually have that. Actually, I don't. But you're also looking at the average American working, you know, in a factory, working on a newsstand kiosk or a fruit stand, you know, doing whatever. There is no minimum wage. You're not making that much money. So in terms of what the average person has in their pocket, that dime means more at that time than our $3.99 means now, where we have a government mandated minimum wage. Everything, like I said, is more expensive. Your average magazine is a lot more now than it was then.
$7.99.
Right,
But
and
they're
that's
also dying.
a great many of them are, but I still, whenever I go into a Barnes & Noble, I see a lot of magazines on the magazine rack, and something might go away and something else seems to take its place. So, you know, print is not completely gone. It may be slowly dying out, but people still like their paperback books. People still like their hardcover books, their coffee table editions.
I mean, I think everyone here, like, we're all in a comic book store. I think everyone here likes comic books and likes holding them. You know, like, we're
Yeah.
obviously not going on some website and buying them or whatever, but at the same time, you get to like $10 for a comic book.
Well,
Especially because like it's not like that's an annual. That's number 25. It's the beginning of the new story. They expect you to like be like, oh well, this is the beginning of the new story. I guess I have to hop on. Especially because they're bringing back Norman Osborn or whatever. Like, you know.
well, and that's fair.
It's a
Look at it this way, though. As opposed to making you buy your regular, so this is issue 25, so this is typically the beginning of the third year of publishing. Little less than that, all things considered, because Spider-Man's been bi-monthly. Instead of getting an annual or a king-size special or some other book outside of the regular publishing sequence, thus making you buy a second book to get the beginning of the arc, they put the beginning of the arc right in here, plus additional story. So it's part of your main sequence. Yeah, you're spending $9.99, but you're spending $9.99 not in addition to another $3.99 or $4.99. It's all streamlined in there. Let's see if this is something that actually works.
I mean, yeah, we can test this right now, but you know, if you think about it, like when there's an annual coming out, it's its own standalone little thing, and if I don't want to pay $5 for an annual, then I don't have to.
Well, sometimes it's a standalone thing, and sometimes it's actually part of the storyline. Like I had mentioned in an earlier video you and I did, Judas Contract, New Teen Titans. It was 3 issues of New Teen Titans, but the story was finished in the annual. That's not the first time that that's ever been the case for the New Teen Titans. The Avengers, some of my favorite Avengers stories, have been bookended in between 2 giant-sized specials or king-sized annual, or their story has concluded in a king-sized annual, and so on. I mean, that's part of the publishing sequence. It's part of how the story arcs are told.
like I hear what you're saying, but like $10 for a book is getting up, and it's like if that entire thing, because that is thick, if that entire thing was it was a part of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be a lot more understandable to me. But like, there's like 3 backups.
Yes. One of those includes a very necessary Dr. Octopus backup story for those of us that followed Superior Spider-Man and then into, I'm skipping ahead here, but the Clone Conspiracy,
Yeah.
Dead No More. We've brought not only Norman Osborn back into front and center, but we're giving Otto Octavius some necessary centering as well. I would very much like to advance the conflict between Otto Octavius and Peter Parker, since they have shared a mind, shared a body. Here's Peter, once again, letting the threads of his life get out of control, and here's Otto Octavius, who has all of the resentment to Spider-Man that he's ever had, but now on top of that saying, look, I built this life for you and you can't manage it. You're a jackass. And
I'm excited to see that, but at the same time, like, that's one little thing that, like, you know, did they have to put that in there, or could they have put it in somewhere else, like maybe after this story?
Well, except I think it'll be relevant to the story ongoing.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I'm not reading it, so I'm talking out of my ass.
But and maybe you should consider checking that out. Check out
But that's a huge barrier to entry. That's kind of the issue.
Well, yeah, but at some point, getting into the comic collecting business, and I say business, but getting into the hobby, it's going to require some kind of an investment.
That's fair.
Your investment might be as simple as, hey, I was right there at #1 of DC's Rebirth, or I happened to see America #1 from Marvel and I picked that up. But what if you didn't? You came in 6 months later. Oh, well, maybe you got lucky and found a comic shop like this one that has back issues, but now the back issue is slightly pricier. It's sold out. It's scarcer. It's harder to get. And in order for you to begin at the beginning, you're going to have to make an investment there. If you are a Wolverine fan, I know that you're not, but if you were a Wolverine fan and you wanted to collect all the Wolverines, you're looking at a $3,000 investment for Incredible Hulk 180 and 181, just to begin at the beginning with Wolverine.
That's
I mean,
an interesting equivocation.
But, certainly that's one very clear example.
Yeah.
Even on smaller scales.
But I feel like that's when you get into that area, you're starting to think about, like, a much more diehard collectors. Like, we're talking about people who are coming into the comic book store and maybe, like, just want to start reading Spider-Man, and then they see, like, a $10 Spider-Man comic. That's kind of...
Right, well, and so the question would come up, why is this $10? But for the older collector, I think we kind of get it. For the younger or newer collector, again, you only have to walk into a Barnes & Noble and look at the magazine rack, and you see magazines that are $7.99, $8.99, $10.99, $15.99. There was a time when magazines were also 10 cents, much like their comic book cousins.
Right.
They're on the shelf, they're on the newsstand, they're at the kiosk, whatever, and they cost the same thing. Comic books have held back the line of expense because magazines went up at least 3 times before comic books went up at all. Comics were 10 cents even into 1961. In fact, Fantastic Four #1 was a 10-cent comic. It was immediately after that, 2 months after Fantastic Four 1, Fantastic Four 2 came out, and that had made the 2-cent jump to 12 cents. And they were 12 cents for a long time. Magazines had gone up. You're looking at paying a quarter or 50 cents, depending on what magazine you're getting. Look at how much more your Year's End Time magazine or Life magazine costs. Every time a celebrity dies, Michael Jackson, David Bowie, there's a special Life magazine, and what does that cost him?
Yeah. I mean, you haven't completely convinced me, but I mean, you have some good points, but...
Well, I try to bring up the good points there, Matt, and I don't want you to miss out on what is a very, very good story. Bear in mind, too, that your creative teams make their living on this stuff. So you are helping Dan Slott not to starve by buying his Spider-Man 25.
I'm not going to get guilt tripped.
I know you're out there, Dan Slott, and I know that you are just one physical comic sale away from bankruptcy. I'm doing everything I can to help you out.